And in comes Sebastian Vettel to park his car, where he will leave it until the race tomorrow. But he won't mind walking away from that car this afternoon, because he will leave it as the car sitting on pole for the first Grand Prix of 2010. Red Bull won the last 3 races of last year. Sebastian Vettel was the last guy to stand on the top step of a podium in Formula 1. And he's on pole, Eddie.
Well, he tends to continue as he just finished last year, and rightfully so. So he's just on top of his game. What he did at the end of last season was phenomenal. And there he is, hugging everybody. He actually got... They were very lucky. The Red Bull got put to one side because people were talking about Schumacher, we were talking about Ferrari, we were talking McLaren and the Button and the Hamilton situation. And he was just cruising along, minding his own business, fully confident that he was going to deliver and get pole position. That's what he's done. He's
a guy that's never been short of confidence, but it looks like being involved in a championship challenge last year has made him feel even more at ease in Formula 1. He's a guy very comfortable in that car, isn't he?
Yeah, confidence is very close to arrogance, but I think that what separates this young German from the returning German and Michael Schumacher is that it's more confidence than arrogance, and therefore he endears himself so much to his team and the rest of the paddock. And as Eddie said, he's just been quietly going away with his preparation in the winter months, and he's gone out first low fuel qualifying in several years, and he's delivered.
And there we can see Felipe Massa taking out his earpieces, congratulating Lewis Hamilton as well. And Felipe, to see him back in Formula 1 after that horrendous accident in Hungary last year, and to see him out qualifying Fernando Alonso, what a great return for him.
Well, Ferrari obviously knew, didn't they? They made the decision. We don't need Raikkonen anymore. We'd rather have Massa. That was a big call for most people's viewpoint, and it's justified. He's absolutely done an amazing job. Alonso, twice world champion, and everyone giving him the #1 slot.
Tell you what, Fernando Alonso wasn't long getting weighed and nicking off, was he?
Well, no, indeed. No, he's obviously going to be looking at the data and trying to understand where he lost that 4 tenths. As you can see, Michael Schumacher, God, it doesn't change, does it? There he is, taking the opportunity to have a sneaky view at the opposition. That just reminds me of his first time around. But he'll be disappointed with that. There was so much hype going into this season. He was obviously very confident. You know, they were underplaying a little bit after the last test, but nonetheless, he would have expected to be showing Nico Rosberg the way. But I think there's two things we've got to note here. Both Felipe Massa and Nico Rosberg have a great record on this track. So I think for Fernando and also for Michael, we need to get them to the next race to see if they're still going to be behind.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Well, we can now hear from Stefano Domenicali. He's the team principal for Ferrari. He'll be delighted. Both of his cars right at the sharp end. They'll start second and third on the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. And you can see the celebrations in the garage when Felipe Massa picked up pole position.
You and Red Bull pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, I think that we need to be very cautious and fit on the ground as always. But let me say one thing, that it is important to see that after a difficult winter, I have to thank all the guys at home that worked very, very hard in order to catch up the big gap that we had at the beginning, at the end of the last season. And then, you know, we have done the qualifying. We need to learn how will be the best strategy for tomorrow, because it's still very difficult to understand. Tire usage, tire degradation, usage strategy. So it will be very, very long, but at least we are there.
Well, you have to start on the soft tyre now. Does that mean you'll just do a short first stint and then put on the hard tyre?
Yeah, I mean, the soft seems to be much better tyres, but we need to make sure that the hard will be good. So we will see.
And everything was okay with the setup? Fernando happy? Because the margin after Q1 suggested that he might be on pole quite easily.
Well, you know, there are so many things that with such a small margin that you need to consider. But, you know, we should be happy.
Thanks.
Well, Stefano Domenicali's boys make up 2/3 of the press conference. We'll hear from the drivers very shortly. The man on pole, of course, is Sebastian Vettel, and we'll hope to hear from Ross Brawn very shortly. But it's worth mentioning this Ferrari situation. They've clearly brought out a car here that's working, and if we go back 12 months, the F60 really was not a great car. Now they've brought out the F10. They've spent a long time developing this car.
Well, they stopped early. We know that they stopped halfway through last season. Always a debatable subject to do that, but it's been paid off. You can see the drivers both very happy with it. Looks a superb prospect for this year.
They probably had to stop the development last year to be able to pay off Raikkonen. You know, he's been paid when he's not actually
You're
out there
beginning
on
to
track.
think like me, David.
Yeah.
What are you talking about money for?
Exactly, but anyway, they've focused on this car, and they've obviously delivered some great performances. We see Rubens Barrichello here just to the right.
Yeah, talking about delivering great performances, let's grab hold of Rubens. Rubens, all in all, a good session for you. You'll start 11th on the grid, but you'll have guys in front of you on soft tyres, and you'll be there with your nice hard tyres, a nice long first stint. You must be feeling confident.
Well, that's a good way of looking into that. It's obviously with all the problems that I had Friday, Saturday, playing catch up a little bit. You know, although you run the whole February, you're still new to the team and new to everything. It was a good effort in qualify. It's a good place, as you said. I have new tires. The others won. I don't know if any qualify on the harder of the tire. So if they don't, I have a better chance. So I'm hopeful. I mean, we're definitely not where we wanted to be, but yeah, we did well.
Rubens, we've been looking very closely at the inter-team battles, and you've been positioned alongside Hulkenberg. You know, Hot Shoe coming up. You must be pretty pleased to have got first blood.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, he's done quite well. I mean, since the very first word goal, since Friday, he's done well. I've been saving the best for last, obviously, but he's a good boy. He's competitive, and he's going to give me a lot of trouble in terms of speed this year. So I think it's a good combination for the team.
Ruby, you're the highest qualified Cosworth user. Engine good?
Engine good. Engine is running well. I think there's a lot of little fine tunes. In terms of raw power, it's quite good. I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, drivability we need to improve. We need to improve a little bit on other sides, small sides, that can give us another couple tenths a lap. But apart from that, the engine power is good.
And finally, very quickly, Michael Schumacher, just a few places in front of you on the grid. How does that feel?
And I have new tires.
I thought that might be your answer. Listen, you'll enjoy that one.
Cheers.
So congratulations. Nice to see you, Rubens. And there you go. If ever you wondered what Rubens Barrichello's feelings are about Michael Schumacher's return, you just found out. Right, time to hear from the top 3 drivers in the drivers' press conference.
Sebastian, the testing didn't really tell us very much. You've picked up where you left off, but how big a surprise is it to you?
A big surprise. I mean, as you said, in winter testing, no one really knew where he was. Of course, I think it was clear that there are 4 teams pretty strong, but close to each other. To be honest, yesterday, it was a very tough day for us. We had not as much running as we were hoping for. Another long night, especially for the mechanics. Not a lot of sleep, some tired faces, but everyone still, was keen this morning to push. And I knew we had a great car. But obviously, first of all, you have to get it together. And I have to say, qualifying this morning already, and qualifying went pretty smoothly. Obviously, I'm very, very happy to be on pole. So thanks to the team. I mean, as I said, the boys, didn't get much sleep. I think the last month, a lot of testing in a short amount of time. And, to come here, first time, everyone really shows how strong he is. And to be on top is definitely a very, very nice feeling.
Well done. Felipe, what a comeback for you from injury. Tell us about how you feel today, about your journey back here and also your performance today.
Well, first of all, congratulations to Sebastian. He did a great job for the first race on the season. I think it's very nice to be back here racing, competitive, in the good direction. So I feel really happy to be back after such a difficult time. I was watching the race in television, pretty exciting to watch the race in television. So it's much better to be inside the car, and now I prepare myself in a good direction, testing, driving go-karts. Everything was great to be back on the car for racing. And I think if you look what's happened last season with us, I think it's a good start of the season for us. I mean, after a difficult season where we finished in the last race and where we are starting the season in the first race is always great for the team, great for the guys who did a very tough job inside the factory since a long time. So I feel really positive to start on the first race second. We are second and third. For the team is just really great. And we will see how it's going the race tomorrow. For sure, Red Bull and also some other teams, they are really strong, so the race will be very difficult, but I'm very happy to be here fighting for the top.
Thank you. Fernando, the margins at the end of qualifying, quite a bit bigger than they were at the beginning. What do you put that down to, and how do you feel about where you've ended up?
Well, I think the difference is difficult to rate. I think with such a long lap like this one, and with the conditions we we are facing with this very warm temperature, etc. I think it's very difficult to complete that long lap with no mistakes or with not any problems. So I think the times are really related to how good is the lap as well, a part of the competitiveness of the car. So I think in different parts of the weekend we saw times very tight and times a little bit split like they are now. But I think it's okay, and in our point of view, obviously we are extremely happy with the result of this weekend so far. The race is tomorrow, we cannot forget this, but so far everything has been great. We keep going as we did all winter testing with a good and a very strong car. I think competitive in all conditions, quali and race, and to be second and third, as Felipe said, I think is a great achievement from everybody in the factory, Maranello, and you know, the job they did from November last year until now, I think was flat out every day, every night, and the first result of the season is very, very positive. So this is a big boost for the team to carry on.
Well, it was one of those winters where we were wondering how the pecking order in Formula One was going to be shuffled up. Drivers, team principals, even Eddie Jordan wasn't sure how it would shape up this year, but it looks like Red Bull have really got a very special car indeed, and congratulations to Ferrari. They've got a car that's fast, straight out of the blocks, unlike last year, and it's worth a mention of a couple of the guys that made it into the final part of qualifying, namely Kubica in the Renault and Adrian Sutil in the Force India, David.
Yeah, that's a great performance from both those teams. Renault were looking fairly quiet in winter testing, so that's amazing how they've popped in there. But if you remember, you all laughed when I said Red Bull for pole pre-season. I'm getting like Eddie now. I told you so.
Yeah, and we'll hear that again and again, no doubt. And there we can see some of the new teams at the back, Virgin Racing and also Hispania Racing, making up the last two slots on the grid. But if you're wondering who's the fastest of the newcomers today, it was Virgin Racing by just a tenth of a second. But at the other end of the grid is Sebastian Vettel sitting in pole in his Red Bull. Christian Horner, the team principal, is with us. And Christian, we all said that we knew that Adrian Newey had designed a great car for you last year. You won the last three races of 2009, but there's always a worry. Are you going to keep that momentum going into a new season? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling, great. I mean, it's a brilliant result for the whole team. They've worked tirelessly over the winter, and some of the hours that have gone in, from the whole group has just been amazing. And we've focused on ourselves over the testing and tried not to get drawn into low fuel runs. So the first time we really took the fuel out of the car was today.
Wow. Christian, if I could ask, how early did you start the design concept of this car? Because very often we know when you were so successful at the end of last season, the following car is usually useless. You've proved us wrong.
Well, you know what Adrian's like. He doesn't like to rush anything. So I think we were still deciding our engines around October. So, it was probably the latest and the shortest design and build of any team in the pit lane, and just a massive effort by everyone in Milton Keynes.
And were you surprised that David tipped Red Bull for the championship, or you either tell him lots of things or he's a bit biased? What do you reckon?
Well, that's what he's paid to do, so I can't believe he should be doing
anything else. You mean by you or by the BBC?
Not on the BBC, he's not. He's totally impartial on the BBC. Of course, you're not. You're delighted, I'm sure you are, that your guys at the very front of the grid. A quick mention on Mark Webber. What's the disparity between the two drivers there? Is it just raw pace on the day?
Well, no, I mean, they've been nip and tuck all the way through the weekend, and, with the qualifying we have now, it's all about getting it right on that one lap, and unfortunately, Mark, he made a small mistake in the mid-sector, and, that was the difference between front row and P6, unfortunately, but he'll be strong in the race tomorrow. OK, so Sebastian at the front, Mark Webber at 6th. Thank you very much, Christian. Nice to chat to you, and have a great weekend. But if you're tuning in now thinking, hold on a minute, where's Dan Walker, where's Football Focus? Well, Dan's going to follow on just after this programme, and you know what? Even the football boys are getting excited about motorsport at the moment.
Yes, we have a Formula One theme to Football Focus this week as well. Eddie Jordan will be telling us about his love of Celtic. Apparently, he even once sorted the manager's job out there. He has some serious power. You can hear about the inspirational story of Mark Holsey, the referee, who's making a comeback from cancer. Also, Carlton Cole, Wayne Rooney, Brian Laws and Roberto Martinez will all be on the programme a bit later. Jake, sadly, no preview of Huddersfield against Norwich, but Mark Lawrenson will be on the sofa alongside Dean Ashton, a former Canary. So it's well worth a watch.
The former players and fans are everywhere, Dan Walker. So you can see Football Focus a little bit later than usual at 12:45 today. It's also a big day for rugby as well. The Calcutta Cup will be fought for a little bit later on. Scotland versus England at 4:35, and before that at 2 o'clock it's Ireland versus Wales as the Six Nations starts to roll towards its climax. So, an interesting day today. 2 British World Champions in the same team for the first time, and a former British World Champion is with us, Nigel. Nigel, first of all, give us your first impressions on how these cars and how these drivers look like they're shaping up for a new season, because it's been a winter of incredible excitement, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone did a fabulous job. I think the great thing there was Red Bull showed how confident they were just to come out and do the one lap. And I think Vettel did a tremendous job. It's great to see Ferrari back right up there, second and third. And then obviously Lewis, I believe, in fourth. So, I mean, it's going to be a good race tomorrow, isn't it?
Oh, it's going to be a fantastic race. And what's going to be interesting is not seeing the cars come into the pits to take on fuel. Now, you've got incredible experience of Formula One. Alan Prost, who was the last world champion, actually, to win the World Championship when there was a no refuelling era, has said it rewards clever drivers. It rewards the very best guys. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you got to think about it. I mean, you've got to use management with the car now, because obviously you can take the goodness out of the tyre within 10, 15 laps, and you've got a lot further to go. So it's always strategy of how many pit stops you're going to do, whether you're going to do 1 or 2. I can remember back, Paul Ricard, 2 years running, I won both Grand Prix. Once I stopped 3 times, the other I stopped once. So it's just strategy and when to push and when to conserve.
It's always the ones you win that you remember. I've noticed that with every former driver I've ever spoken to.
There's a few of them, but no, I mean, it's all down to how the driver sets the car up. You've got to have a very good balance. I must compliment the track here. I think they've done a wonderful job, and what a fantastic occasion. Congratulations to Bernie and everybody.
OK, we'll stay with us for just a moment. Let's actually hear from Jenson and Lewis.
Second row start tomorrow. How does that sit with you?
Not bad. I was actually surprised, to be honest, with that result. We generally don't really have the same pace as the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, and so I was really surprised when I came. I saw that I was P4, but I didn't know there was loads of people behind me. But absolutely overwhelmed with that position. I think that's great for us, a great starting point, and I hope tomorrow we're going to just try and either keep the position or take one more if possible.
What do you think is the difference in that case between the cars? Do you think you're lacking, or are they just a little bit ahead here at this track?
I think it's downforce. I think we're generally quite weak in the middle sector. We lose almost a second in the middle sector, so we've got a lot of downforce to find. But I know the guys back at the factory are pushing very hard, and you know, this is a much better position to start from than we did last year. So I can only be grateful and just keep working with the guys to push us forward.
Jenson, it looked pretty tough out there. What was it like from where you were sitting?
It was all right. It was getting better every run I did, and I felt more and more comfortable with the car. I've really struggled with front locking this afternoon, very different to this morning. But through quali, it was getting better and better. And the last run, something was a bit wrong. Something felt wrong. So we're going to have a look at the car now and see what that is. But I'm surprised that I was 8th actually, because it was struggling around the last lap. But you know, even so, you know, Lewis is up in 4th, which is not such a bad position. But when you look at the difference in lap time to P1, it's massive. You know, it's sort of over 1 second. So it's a big surprise, and I think Red Bull are very fast, and even the Ferraris couldn't stay with them in qualifying.
You kept it tight in Q2 as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And my first run in Q2, I was in traffic, and the second one was a bit better. So. Yeah, it was getting better and better every lap I did out there, so I was reasonably happy. But yeah, at the end it wasn't so good, and something just feels a little bit wrong. So we need to look at that.
Great, thank you.
Cheers.
Well, Nigel, you're familiar with having some pretty handy teammates. You had Nelson Piquet as a world champion, and of course Alain Prost. What advice would you give to Jenson and Lewis?
Just be great teammates, develop the car, make the car go as quick as you possibly can. If you come first and second, then fight it on the track. But you just got to work together, because there's a lot of great teams doing a fabulous job.
Yeah, but at what point do you really get down and try and get that little edge over your teammate? Only when you go out on track, or do you start it with your engineer?
I think qualifying, but I mean the engineer, you know, counts for a lot, as you know, David. And I mean, it all starts back at the factory, really, doesn't it? I mean, and also we can't talk about this, but what's in that little contract?
Oh, we can talk about anything. We can talk about anything.
Not like you to talk about contracts, Nigel. I'm now going to ask you a question which most of our viewers won't have any idea about, but you, at your great age, are coming back to do Le Mans with your 2 boys in your own design car. Give us an insight into that, because that's a well-kept secret up to this.
Well, I mean, we're backed by Zytec. It's a Zytec car, and with Ginetta, and also the Zytec engine. Driving with Leo and Greg, I mean, doing the Le Mans 24 hours with the ACO is absolutely amazing to actually get the entry. I think the other thing is making history. Nobody's ever, with their father and 2 sons, driven as the same team in Le Mans 24 Hours, plus the Le Mans Series. So we are definitely mad, Eddie.
So I'm glad you said that, because I was going to call you stark raving, along with that Schumacher boy, because at 41 doing what he's doing here.
No, but that's why I'm doing it. I'm getting myself in shape. So
You're just trying to steal his thunder.
I want a contract here next year.
Hold on a
David
minute.
and I have been talking about this. We're coming back.
Is this a world exclusive you're giving us? No, but actually,
Absolutely.
in all seriousness, hopefully you're not lost to the world of Formula One, because the new rules, the new bosses at the FIA, Jean Todt, said that he wants to bring in former racing drivers to act as stewards at races, just to try and help make the decisions a bit fairer. Have you been approached? Have you discussed that?
I can honestly say I've had a phone call. We've had a chat with the FIA. I think it's a marvellous idea what they're doing, because if they can get world champions as a 4th steward, if there is a sort of coming together, they can give their input. Obviously, the other stewards then can interpret the rules and obviously deem what the fine or penalty will be. But I just think it's very, very smart to give it even more credibility. And I think, past world champions are in a position to do that. So all credit to the FIA and everybody thinking about it.
And how do you feel about Schumacher coming back? Would you like to be passing decision on his racing moves?
I just think it's marvellous.
Yeah.
Marvellous for the sport, marvellous for him. And, David and I are making a comeback in 2011, so we're available. You watch us in the Le Mans Series, and we'll see how we get on.
David's just looking nervous. Judging by what's around your neck, you're not going to miss any parties either this weekend. So have a lovely time at the Grand Prix, and really nice to see you again.
I've never had so many tickets to get everywhere.
Look forward to seeing you back on the grid next year.
Thank you, and good luck to everybody tomorrow.
All right, thanks very much,
Thank
Nigel.
you.
Really good to chat. So as you can see, there really are opinions about Michael Schumacher everywhere you look at the moment. But what really counts is that today, Michael Schumacher in qualifying was 0.3 of a second slower than his teammate, his new teammate, Nico Rosberg. Let's hear from them both now, starting with Nico.
Nico, just tell us about your qualifying. Happy with that?
Not quite, for 2 reasons. I was actually hoping for pole position, to be honest, today. I was convinced that I could do it today, but we're missing a little bit of pace to do that. So, and then should have been 4th, I think. But it was so difficult out there with the tires overheating. You know, if you had one oversteer, you brought the tires to overheat, and then the next couple of corners were just game over. So it was really challenging.
Do you think tyres are going to be the main word of tomorrow?
I think tyres are going to be one main factor tomorrow, yeah, and that's why we all went on the option also, because it's just a better race tyre for the first, for the start and for the first couple of laps.
Michael, first qualifying session back in F1 for a little while. Was it tougher than you remembered?
No, not really. It's certainly a little bit different for me. I feel that the time I had available in order to get onto the little peak of what our car could be doing, I've not yet got that one. As you see, Nico is a bit quicker than me. But I'm quite happy. I mean, we have steadily improved. We have worked very well as a team, and that's what counts at the moment much more. The race is a long race. We'll see, and the year is even longer.
I imagine for you, practice session was great, qualifying, you've got that box ticked, but how are you feeling before your race?
Well, right now I'm minded from qualifying. I don't really think too much about the race. Later on we sit there and think about what happens in the race.
Well, I'm not really sure that Michael Schumacher isn't thinking too much about the race. For the next few hours, he won't think of anything else. And of course, you can see the race live with us tomorrow from 10 minutes past 11 on Sunday morning, the first race of the 2010 season. Of course, you can also watch the race on our website as well, bbc.co.uk/F1. There's also some extra stats and facts that you can enjoy during the race if you want to watch it there. And press the red button during the race to ride on board with drivers, have alternative commentary and all sorts of other things. And of course, if you miss anything, the iPlayer is there for you 24/7. So let's talk about tomorrow's race. Michael Schumacher says he's not thinking about it. Hands up who believes him. As I thought. David, how do you see it going tomorrow?
Well, obviously, Sebastian Vettel's put himself in prime position, getting the pole. We know that was low fuel qualifying. Now we have to find out how they all perform with more than 160 kilos on board. Ferrari have looked very strong in winter testing, so I don't think this race is over by any stretch. Coming to Michael, I think he's just too far back to make the podium.
What do you think the problem is there at the moment? He doesn't seem to be, as Martin Brundle said to me yesterday, driving the car to its limit. He seems to be 2 or 3 tenths behind the car.
Yeah, he's not hustling the way that Michael used to, and this is obviously a different car. It's a few years since he was out there in Formula 1, but I'm surprised because he did do all the pre-season testing. He actually did some GP2 running, which is the formula below Formula 1, prior to testing. So he cannot be sort of, lacking on track time. He's just obviously
taken a while to get up to speed.
Looking at the grid tomorrow, who have you got your eye on? Maybe for a potential upset, a little bit of a surprise?
I can't see anyone beating Vettel. We've seen all of the times that he's been on pole position, he has that great strength of mind to pull away and go. He's done that so many times, I can't see him being beaten. We've just had the man here, Barrichello, could be a big surprise. He could make the podium.
We've waited all winter. It's certainly lived up to expectations today, hasn't it? It's been great to get going again.
Great qualifying session. Roll on tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, of course, it is Sebastian Vettel who's going to be at the very front tomorrow, and he'll feel good. He'll go to bed tonight and he'll relax, knowing that last year he was in a championship fight and now he's on pole. Well, he'll feel good until he looks and sees the 4 guys in his wing mirrors. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Where you going? You're not coming back from?